All right, good morning. Let's start on our mats today in Balasana, child's pose. We just had a quick chat about the Sanskrit name for child's pose. So big toes together, knees apart, but you only want the knees apart so much, but that you can still rest the torso on the thighs. So you want the thighs to be able to support the outer edges of the rib cage, not so wide that you can fit the torso between the thighs. And you can bring the head down to the mat. And if that's uncomfortable with the knees apart, you can always bring the knees together, especially if you have any lower back stuff going on. The knees together gives you a little bit more support there. And arms can be out in front of you. If you have any shoulder issues, you can bring the arms back behind you and let them take more time to warm up. And if it's just one shoulder, you can do one arm forward, one arm back. Lots of different ways to come into your child's pose, especially this first one. We're looking for a moment to start to land on our mat. So take a deeper breath in through the nose, back out through the nose. Two more like that. Big breath in, feel the back expand. Slow breath out. Deep breath in through the nose. Slow breath back out through the nose. Keep going like this on your own. Deep inhale. And that long exhale. Starting to drop into your practice. Collecting yourself and bringing yourself all to the mat. Thoughts, emotions. Only thing that matters right now is right now. See if the arms can crawl forward a little bit more, fingertips can walk forward a little bit more. Maybe the hips go back toward the heels. And begin to lift the head, come up to hands and knees. So just a tabletop, you're separating the feet are right behind the knees, shoulders stacked over the wrists. On an inhale, reach the heart forward. On the exhale, round the whole spine, chin in toward the chest. Keep going at your own pace, eyes open or closed. Check in with yourself, see how you're feeling today. And articulating that, using words to describe how you're feeling without judgment. It is what it is. And when you identify how you're feeling now, you can get a better sense of what you need out of your practice. What would bring you to a more even, balanced state? Or what would keep you there if you're feeling already there? One more cycle, forward and back. Back to neutral spine. So staying on the knees, walk the hands forward, way ahead of the shoulders. So you're reaching forward, keeping the knees down onto the mat, start to shift forward. Shoulders are over the wrists, so stacked. And then you'll lift the lower belly, reach the heart forward. And you should feel a whole lot of length in the spine when you do that. And maybe even the core kicks on and the legs turn on. Bend the elbows halfway. So it's like chaturanga with the knees down. Come back up to the top. So keep thinking about a nice open chest. We're keeping the knees down on purpose. Lower down halfway on the exhale. Come back up. Feeling the whole core, even down to the inner thighs working. Bend the elbows halfway, keep the chest open, come all the way down onto your stomach. Walk the hands back by the lower ribs, fingertips in line with the center of the chest. Press down into the tops of the feet, point that tailbone way back, and then reach the heart forward. So just a baby cobra to start out, broaden across the collarbones. Hands are pretty light. Then exhale, release. Let's do 2 more like that. Each one can get a little bigger as you start to become more open. Inhale up, but preserving that length in the lower back by pointing the tailbone back. Exhale, release. Inhale up. Exhale, release. Come back up to hands and knees. And this time, bring the feet over to one side. Come to seated on the mat. So you'll just bring the legs out in front of you. Make sure you're more toward the center of the mat with the hips. Come on down onto your back. Interlace the fingers back behind the head. Keep the elbows wide. Feet stay on the mat. Look up. Take an inhale. Exhale. Lift the shoulder blades and the chest up and away from the mat. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. Little different this time. Inhale back. Exhale up. Stay up. Take an inhale. Go up higher on the exhale. Come back halfway on the inhale. Exhale higher. So we're just playing with this little tiny range. Inhale back halfway. Lift up higher on the exhale. Inhale back halfway. Exhale up. One more. Inhale back. Exhale up. Stay up. Reach the arms forward, palms facing up. Maybe you stretch the feet out in front of you and you're in Ardha Navasana. So arms are reaching forward. Gaze can be forward at the toes. Chest is lifted. Legs are squeezing together like they're one leg. And then we'll take this to Navasana, boat pose. So start to look up, reach the chest up, reaching the arms forward, squeezing the legs together even here. And you can keep the legs bent. You could also straighten the legs, but if that starts to tax the hip flexors too much, then just bend the knees and you're still in boat pose. You could also hang onto the backs of the knees or bring the hands down to the mat on either side of you. Take one more breath here, wherever you are, lifting the chest and set the feet down, cross the legs. You're coming to downward facing dog. So hands down onto the mat, tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back. And let's take a wider downward facing dog. So move the feet out to the outer edges of the mat. So the feet are way wider than hip width distance. And then push the hips up and back. This is a really nice way to open up the legs, taking a wider stance with your downward facing dog. And sometimes when we go wider, it could be this wide if we want it to be. And we might play with this a little bit today. With a wider downward facing dog. It also gets into the lower back in a really nice way. All right, so bring the feet back to hip width distance. Notice the difference. Reach the right leg up and back. Step the right foot through up between the hands, coming into a runner's lunge. So you can come up onto the fingertips. You could put blocks underneath the hands, but we're trying to keep that back knee up, reach the heart forward. Right hand comes inside of the right foot. Turn the toes to the left, walk the hands over to the left. So now the feet are way wider. Keep the hips over the heels. So they're going to want to go forward. Keep the legs right where they are. In fact, squeeze those legs together, hug the belly in, reach the heart forward. Walk the hands forward like downward facing dog, but try not to take the hips with you. And then you can let the head go between the arms. You can even move the head side to side so you feel the ears inside the biceps. And this is a really nice way to do downward facing dog, to kind of stretch, open up. And most of us will probably feel a nice length in the spine. So you still hug that belly in for support. Legs are opening up, whole upper body's opening up, but you're not getting a whole lot of pressure in the upper body the way we typically would with the feet closer together. So playing with a wider down dog. Start to walk the hands back in underneath the shoulders, lifting the chest up halfway. Turn the toes to the top of the mat. Step back to downward facing dog. Lift the left leg up and back. Step the left foot through, up between the hands, lifting the chest. So maybe that means coming up onto the fingertips or blocks underneath the hands. Here for a few breaths. Feeling what this lunge has to offer on the left side. Left hand inside the left foot, walk it over to the right. Feet are wide, toes pointing forward. Walk the hands forward like downward facing dog. Hips stay over the heels. Belly hugs in. And if you feel like the neck is wanting to work, nod the head yes a couple of times and no a couple of times until you feel that release happen. And when that happens, it's a little easier to get the shoulders toward the hips instead of down toward the ears. Look forward, walk the hands back in underneath the shoulders, lifting the chest. Turn the toes to the top of the mat. Runner's lunge, hands down, back to downward facing dog. On your next inhale, glide forward to plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Two more like that if you want them. Inhale, forward, plank pose. Exhale, back, downward facing dog. This time, inhale forward to plank pose, lower all the way down to the mat with control, tops of the feet down, cobra. Exhale, release, downward facing dog, either hands and knees to get there or fire it up to plank, back to down dog. Couple breaths in your downward facing dog, hiding those heels behind the balls of the feet so they kick out a little bit. That'll also give you a little bit more space in the legs. Bend the knees, look forward. Take your time, bring the feet up between the hands. Maybe just walk the feet up, taking several steps to get there. And on an inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold back down. Two more times, Ardha Uttanasana. On the inhale, lift up, reach the heart forward. Think cobra in the upper body. Exhale, fold. Last one. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. So hands down in front of the shoulders. Widen the feet so they're hip width distance. Go a little bit wider. We're coming into Malasana, Yogi Squat. So turn the toes out, heels in. And if you feel like you need to go a little wider, go a little wider. This is where you listen to your body, where it tells you how wide the feet need to be before you can start to bring the hips down into your Yogi Squat. So we want those heels down on the mat. We want the knees wide. Elbows help keep the knees wide, and then you lift the chest. If your squat is happening with the heels up, you can roll the mat up and slide it underneath the heels, or bring the hands down in front of you, keeping the heels up and just going for that long spine. This is a good modification for your Yogi Squat, eventually working toward the heels coming down toward the mat. Otherwise, heels are down. You're pressing into the feet and squeezing all those muscles around the hips for support. And that'll help you also lift the chest. So you have that shine, that beaming light shining up through the crown of the head for a little bit more lift. And then to come out, let's bring the hands down to the ground in front of you, straighten the legs, heel toe the feet, back to hip width distance. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. This time all the way up on the inhale. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Bring the hands together overhead, down in front of the heart. Reach the arms all the way up on the inhale. On the exhale, forward fold. Little bend in the knees is fine as you come down. You're hinging from the hips. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, bring the hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Shift forward onto the hand or onto the toes. Bend the elbows halfway, chaturanga. Come to the tops of the feet, upward facing dog. Unless you're sticking with cobra, that's fine too. Exhale back, downward facing dog. So those feet are hip width distance apart when you're in your back bends, cobra and upward facing dog and downward facing dog. And that's how you keep that space in the lower back. Bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, maybe lightly jump if you're ready for that. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up to standing. Palms come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, bend the knees, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway on the exhale, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Start to bend the knees, look forward, step, hop, walk, feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up to standing. Palms come together overhead, down in front of the heart. One more Surya A, back to down dog. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, back to plank pose. Lower down halfway, chaturanga on the exhale. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Right foot steps up between the hands. Find that runner's lunge. Fingertips down on the mat, reaching the heart forward. Right hand inside the right foot. Walk the hands over to the left. Toes pointing straight forward or a little bit in. Put a little bend in the knees, hands to the hips, rise up to standing. Angle in the right toes, turn the left toes all the way out. So you're facing the back of the mat, warrior two. So digging down into that left heel, outer edge of the right foot. And if you feel any pain or discomfort in your standing poses, play with the distance between the feet. If you have a really long stance, maybe you take this stance a little bit shorter to see if that goes away. So the most important part of any pose is whatever's touching the mat. So whenever you're feeling uncomfortable, start there and then work your way up the pose. Flip the front palm up, reverse warrior, leaving the legs right where they are. Starting to get into the side body. Opening up that left side rib cage. And all those muscles there, the intercostal muscles. Straighten the front leg, keep reaching up and back. Bring the hands to the hips. Turn those left toes in. Fold forward halfway. Bring the hands down in front of the shoulders. Start to walk the hands to the top of the mat. Find that runner's lunge. Step back, downward facing dog. If you want a vinyasa, take one. If you'd rather hold downward facing dog for 5 breaths, do that. Left foot steps up between the hands. Find your runner's lunge, blocks, fingertips, or maybe you're feeling open enough to have hands flat, but don't force it. Left hand inside the left foot. Walk the hands over to the right. Put a little bend in the knees, hands to the hips, press yourself up to standing. Angle in the left toes, turn the right toes all the way out. Virabhadrasana 2, facing the back of the mat. Trying not to lean forward with the torso. So as soon as we put that bend in the right knee, the whole upper body wants to go along with it. So reach back with the left arm. Try to keep the hands in line with one another and in line with the shoulders. Use the left hip to push that right hip forward. That'll also keep the spine upright instead of leaning over the right knee. Flip the front palm up. Keep the legs, reach up and back, reverse warrior. Lengthening that right thigh away from you as you reach up and back. Straighten the front leg. Keep reaching up and back, reverse triangle. Come up to standing, hands to the hips. Turn those right toes in to face the side of the mat. Fold forward halfway. Hands come down in front of the shoulders. Turn to face the top of the mat, coming back to a runner's lunge. And you can take a breath in the lunge, get the left knee stacked over the left ankle. Hands to the mat, step back. Downward facing dog. Vinyasa or not, up to you. You can always modify it too. Start to bend the knees. Look forward, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, chair pose, Utkatasana. Weights in the heels of the feet. Come all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat, any way you want, back to downward facing dog. So you know there are plenty of opportunities for vinyasa. You always just pace yourself, and it should be a conscious decision to figure out, is that going to feed your practice or is it going to drain it? Right leg lifts up and back. Step that right foot through, up between the hands, warrior one. So hop the back foot in, reach the arms forward and up. Squaring the hips, keeping that back leg straight, lunge in the front knee. Upper body's lifting away from the mat. You're hugging the belly in, and it's really as much of a back bend as you want. If you're comfortable to look up, you can look up. If you're looking up, start to look forward. Straighten the front leg. So everything's the same. You're just straightening the front leg. Turn those right toes in to face the side of the mat. Warrior two facing the back of the mat. Turn the left toes out. Flip the front palm up, reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg, reverse triangle. Come up to standing, arms out wide. Turn those left toes to face the side of the mat. Keep angling the left toes in. Turn the right toes out. Triangle facing the top of the mat. So keep that front leg straight. Reach forward with the right arm. Bring the right arm down, left arm up. So trying to find as much space as we can. Squeeze the legs together. Hug the belly in, open up across the chest. And then you can play with the height of the chest. So going up higher will probably give you too much space. And maybe you go up too high to feel what that feels like. And then start to feel, where is the pose in my body where I have the most control? If you go down too low, you'll lose the control of all the muscles in the legs and you'll just be hanging out in the pose. So you're trying to find that place where is there enough, the right amount of work? My challenge, my edge. Reach that left arm up and over the ear. Maybe the right arm reaches forward. And it's like you're holding a beach ball. Now you feel the work in the pose. Come all the way up to standing. Bring the hands to the hips. Look forward at this right foot. Step the left foot forward to meet the left foot. So you're standing at the top of the mat. Good. Hug the left knee in toward the chest. So you're standing on one leg, bringing the left knee in toward the chest. Right thigh's pressing back. So notice how the top of the thigh wants to go forward. Chest is lifted. Interlace the fingers underneath the back of the left thigh and extend that left leg forward. So what's nice with the support is you can really straighten the leg. You can also level off the sit bone so that left sit bone isn't lifting higher than the right. Reach the arms all the way up. See if you can keep that left leg going straight forward. Warrior 3, keep the legs straight. It'll just hover over the mat. Arms will reach forward, or you can always bring them together like prayer in front of the heart. Level off the hips. Try not to let that left hip lift. And then bend the standing leg. Reach back with the ball of the left foot, crescent, reaching the arms up. Good. Hands come down to the mat any way you want, back to downward facing dog. Left leg reaches up and back. Step it through to the top of the mat, finding warrior 1. Whole foot comes down on the right foot. Reach the arms forward and up. Spinning that inner right thigh back behind you and lengthening the inner left thigh straight forward. Hug the belly in. Maybe the chest starts to lift. And you find a little bit of a back bend, one that you're comfortable with. If your gaze is up, bring it forward. Keep everything the same, just straighten the front leg. You're still reaching up, lifting the upper body away from the mat. And then turn the toes over to the left. So those left toes, over to the right. Turn the right toes out. Warrior 2 facing the back of the mat. Virabhadrasana 2. Flip the front palm, reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg, keep reaching up and back, reverse triangle. Come up to standing, arms wide, angle in the right toes, turn the left toes all the way out, setting yourself up for Trikonasana Triangle on this side. Reach forward with the left arm, keep that length in the left side body as you bring the left arm down and the right arm up. So here for several breaths, here's where you can play around a little bit. So get your foundation first, make sure the feet are rooted down through the mat, through the earth, squeezing the legs together, hugging the core in, opening up across the chest, and then playing with the height of the chest on this side. It might be in a different place with the left leg forward instead of the right. Turn that right palm to face forward, reach the arm over the ear. So you're feeling that length on the whole right side of the body. Keep opening the chest up toward the sky. Maybe the left palm hovers up. You're holding that beach ball. Bring it all the way up to the sky. Hands come to the hips. Look forward at that left foot. Put a little bend in the left knee. Step the right foot forward to the top of the mat. Tadasana. And you'll start to shift the weight over to the left foot, hug the right knee in toward the chest. So that left thigh presses back, belly hugs in, chest lifts up. Interlace the fingers underneath the thigh, extend the right leg forward. So trying to get the foot in line with the hip, doesn't have to be perfect. Both legs are strong, so you're pressing out through both feet. Reach the arms all the way up. See if you can keep the height of the right leg. And then warrior 3, go slow, use that strength to get there. Maybe that right leg stays straight the whole time. You could put a bend in the standing leg as you reach forward with the arms and back with that right leg. So you're pushing that right foot away from you. Get as long as you can. Bend the standing leg, reach back with the ball of the right foot, crescent pose, light landing without a splash. Hands come down to the mat. Make your way back, downward facing dog. Few breaths in downward facing dog. Start to bend the knees. Look forward. Bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. We're coming back to Malasana, Yogi Squat. So hands in front of the shoulders, heel toe the feet wider. Turn the heels in, toes out, especially if you need more space. If you're able to keep the toes forward, that's another option, but it's pretty intense. Bring the hips down, knees go wide. And maybe the hips are a little bit more open this time. So if the heels are down, elbows inside of the knees, and you're opening up the knees to keep them going in the same direction as the toes. They really want to cave in. That's also where the hip opening is. Lift the chest. So think about Mula Bandha. So you're lifting from the pelvic floor all the way up through the crown of the head. And that should give you that length that we're looking for. Try to keep the eyes fixed on one spot. Feet are strong here. Toes can be light. You can even lift them if you want to. Then bring the hands down to the mat. Start to straighten the legs. Heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. Inhaling up halfway. Find cobra in the upper back. Exhale, fold. All the way up to standing. Hands come together. Down in front of the heart. On your inhale, chair pose. Bend the knees, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Make your way back, downward facing dog. You have 5 breaths to either stay in down dog or get there. Right leg lifts up and back, 3-legged down dog. Step the right foot through, up between the hands. Hop that back foot in. Virabhadrasana 1. Square the hips, square the chest. Press into both heels. Lift up with the chest, maybe the gaze. Gaze comes forward, straighten the front leg. Warrior 2 at the back of the mat. Turn the toes to face the side, spread the arms out wide, left toes turn out. Flip the front palm up, reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg, reverse triangle. Arms out wide to the side as you stand tall. Angle in the left toes. Turn the right toes all the way out. Triangle pose. You know you can shorten your stance if you want to. Reach forward with the right arm. Bring it down softly. Left arm reaches up. So right hand's just gently resting on a block, the shin. Turn the left palm to face forward. Reach the arm over the ear. See if you can find that connection between the left foot and the left arm, reaching away from one another. Right arm, maybe that reaches forward, palms facing one another. Bring it all the way back up to standing. Hands come to the hips. Bend the front knee, look at the right foot. Step that left foot forward. Tadasana at the top of the mat. Hug the left knee in toward the chest. Interlace the fingers underneath the thigh, extend that left leg forward. So you're finding that stretch, and you're also just building the foundation for our big transition to warrior 3. Reach the arms all the way up. Keep that engagement in the left leg. Warrior 3. Go slow, keep your focus. Play with the strength to get there. Finding that stability. Get as long as you can from the fingertips all the way out through that left foot. Crescent pose, put a bend in that right knee, step back with the left foot, reach the arms all the way up. Hands come down to the mat any way you want, back to downward facing dog. Left leg reaches up and back. Step the left foot through up to the top of the mat. Hop that back foot in. Virabhadrasana 1, warrior 1. Lift the upper body as you ground the legs. Then start to bring the gaze forward if you lifted it up. Straighten the front leg. Keep reaching up as you turn the toes to face the side of the mat. Angle on the left toes, turn the right toes all the way out. Warrior 2 facing the back of the mat. Flip the front palm up, reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg, keep reaching up and back. Come up to standing, arms out wide, angle in the right toes, turn the left toes all the way out. Trikonasana Triangle Pose. Top palm turns to face forward. Reach the right arm up and over. Find that stretch in your extended triangle pose. Then bring the left arm forward. Come all the way up to standing. Hands come to the hips. Put a little, look at the left foot, put a little bend in the left knee, step that right foot forward, Tadasana, top of the mat. This time shifting the weight over to the left foot, hug the right knee in toward the chest, press that left thigh back, then interlace the fingers, extend that right leg forward, keeping the chest lifted. Find the strength in the legs, keep that right leg where it is, reach the arms all the way up to the sky. Slow warrior 3. Take your time, see if you can do it without touching the right foot and keeping the leg engaged the whole time. So you'll notice it kind of comes in and out for some of us. See if you can keep that power in the whole body. And then once you get there, stretch, reach the hands away from that right foot, get as long as you can, hugging the core in tight. And then bend the standing knee, reach back with the ball of the right foot, crescent pose, really light landing. Exhale, hands come down to the mat, make your way back, downward facing dog. So a little playful this time. Look forward, bend the knees, lift the hips up high. Can you hop forward into a squat? So the hands would come outside the feet. Might be a little bit wider, but it could be a fun way to jump forward. So you hug the belly in, look way ahead of the hands toward the top of the mat. And then as you hug the belly in, that's what lifts the hips. And you gently set the feet down, heels in, toes out, bring the hands together. And that's a whole other way to get into your Malasana Yogi Squat. Lifting the chest, finding the grounding in the feet, and then also finding a little bit of lift in the hips. Bring the hands down to the mat, straighten the legs, heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. And then this time, let's bring the heels of the feet together, toes turn out. Lift the heels up high, the heels still touching. So toes are turning out, knees bent, and then walk the hands forward. So it's like a squat. You're still getting a hip opening. You're crawling the hands as far forward as you can. Let the head and the neck go. So now you're feeling a rounding of the spine. You're also set up for crow pose. Stay here if this is feeling like right where you need to be. If you want to play with Bakasana, crow pose, I'll talk you through it. You'll just keep the shape of the body, keep the rounding of the spine, start to lift the pelvic floor and the belly in toward the spine. Keep that, chest is still low as you can keep it. Walk the hands back as far as you can until they touch the legs. And then lift the hips, see if you can lower the upper body even more. So you want to get those knees above the underarms if you can, and then squeeze the knees in toward the body and push the arms out toward the legs at the same time. Look way forward, hug the belly in, lift the pelvic floor. Maybe you start by lifting one foot and then the other, and you squeeze the feet together, lifting the heels up toward the glutes, always looking forward in your arm balance. Keep the rounding of the spine. Set the feet back down. Those looked great. Bring the knees back together, forward fold. So walking the feet forward, keep the feet hip width distance apart. Inhale up halfway. Find cobra in the upper body, which should feel so good after that rounding. Exhale, fold. Come all the way up to standing. Fire up the legs, reach the arms all the way up. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Bring the hands together right in front of the heart, twist to the right. So coming into your twist, make sure that left knee is even with the right. It wants to go ahead of it. You can tap the elbow on top of the right thigh. You could hook the elbow outside of the right thigh. You could even open up the arms, but we haven't done a whole lot of twisting today, so it might not be the day for it. Find your breath and the length in the spine on the inhale. Twisting on your exhale. Come back to center chair pose. Reach the arms forward and up, all the way back up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Close the eyes. Keep the hands together so the chest is nice and wide. Legs are firm. Lifting up through the upper body. Following that breath. Blink open the eyes. Inhale. Sit back. Chair pose. Utkatasana. Hands together right in front of the heart. Twist to the left this time. Find a place for your elbow. Make sure the right knee doesn't go ahead of the left knee, which might mean you're a little bit out of the twist a little. You can definitely go deeper into the twist with that right knee going forward, but then you would know your hips are uneven, and that is not great for the whole alignment of the twist. Come back to center, reach the arms forward and up. Last chair pose, this time forward fold, straighten the legs, let the head and the neck go. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, last vinyasa if you want it, or just go straight back to downward facing dog. It's up to you. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Sigh it out the mouth. Bring the knees down to the mat. Take child's pose. Big toes together. Sit the hips back, forehead down. Arms back behind you might be really nice at this point in your practice. I'll leave that choice to you. Then bring the hands underneath you, lifting the chest. Let's slide forward onto our stomach. So come on down onto your stomach, walk the feet back, and bring the forearms down underneath you. So you're coming into Sphinx Pose. Shoulders stack over the elbows, hands are shoulder width distance apart. Reach the heart forward between the arms, broaden across the collarbones, and then look down the bridge of the nose. Legs are firm, so you have to press down into the tops of the feet to keep the legs firm, and the tailbones pointing back toward the heels. If the belly's falling into the mat, you need to lift it, pubic bones pressing into the mat. So we'll do some back bends on our stomach today, starting with Sphinx Pose. Opening things up. And then you'll start to rest. So make a pillow with the hands. You can turn the head to one side.
You could even move the hips side to side. That feels good for a lot of us on the mat, kind of just releases things in the lower back area. And we'll come into another back bend.
So start to lift the head, reach the arms back behind you. And the hands are pressing together, even though they're not touching. Press into the tops of the feet. Same thing we did before. Tailbone back toward the heels, belly lifts away from the mat. Lift and spread the chest. So you're trying to reach the heart forward over the top of the mat as you stretch the feet back. Sometimes it's nice to think about somebody pulling your ankles back so you get that length in the legs, but you're still pressing down into the tops of the feet for this one. If you feel comfortable hovering the feet and you can still keep the legs engaged, you can play with that, but go for length more than height. Then set the feet back down, make a pillow with the hands, turn the head the other way. Maybe you move the hips side to side. Letting that all go before the last and final round. All right, press into the tops of the feet, reach the arms back behind you, squeeze those hands together, squeeze into press the tops of the feet down, reach the heart forward, lifting the chest, legs go back. Maybe you hover the feet, but go for length more than height. Breathe, whole body working. Inner thighs are spinning up toward the sky instead of down toward the mat. One more breath, take an inhale. Exhale, release, make a pillow with the hands, turn the head the other way, let that go. And this time, let's bend the legs. So you're lifting the feet and you can move the feet side to side. And if you liked it better with the feet down and moving the hips side to side, go back to that. And then set the feet back down onto the mat. Turn the head so that you have the right side of the face on the mat and you can just cactus the arms. Bring the left knee out to the side. So inner edge of the foot is down on the ground. And we'll start to take this into a twist. So you'll bring the left hand right in front of the face, lift the left hand, right arm goes behind the left arm, and then you'll just reach that left arm back behind you. Right knee is still down on the mat. You're reaching back with the left arm. And you can keep going until the left shoulder is down on the mat. And that might mean that the left knee lifts. We'll take this left arm, bring it all the way back over on top of the right arm, and you'll lift the head, left leg goes back behind you, walk the forearms back down to the mat, keep them wide. This time, left side of the face on the mat, right knee comes out to the side. Just lie here for a couple of breaths. So right knee in line with the hip, inner edge of the foot on the ground outside of the mat. Then lift the head, left arm slides behind the right arm, like thread the needle. And then you'll start to roll back, reach that right arm back behind you and find your twist on this side. Spreading the arms out wide. Trying to keep the head, left hip, and left foot in line. Let's come onto our backs from here. So you might need to scoop back over onto your mat, but you're on your back. Cross the right ankle on top of the left thigh. Take thread the needle. So you're already in it. You can keep the left foot here or bring the legs in closer, reach through, grab the back of the right thigh. Or if you're really feeling open, top of the left shin. Right foot stays flexed always. Find even on the hips too. Sometimes we rock over to the right too far with this one. Head's resting on the mat instead of lifting away from the mat. And if it's lifting away, then you've gone too far. So just back up a step with the legs until you can easily rest the head. Set the feet back down onto the mat and we'll switch sides, left ankle, right thigh, different hips. So play with this, see where your thread the needle is on this side. Maybe the legs come in closer. You reach through, grab the back of the thigh or top of the shin. Left foot flexed, even on the hips, head on the mat. Then set the feet back down onto the mat. Let's take happy baby. Hips are pretty open. Bring the legs in close, reach through, grab whatever's there. So it doesn't have to be the outer edges of the feet. It could be the ankles, the calves, backs of the thighs, or the inner edges of the feet. Bring the hips down to the mat, shine the soles of the feet up toward the sky. Legs are out wide. So you're trying to get the feet over the knees. Chest is open, head down. You can rock side to side if that feels good. Hug the knees in toward the chest. Close the eyes. Take a big inhale where you are. Exhale, Shavasana. If you'd prefer a seated meditation, you're welcome to take that. It's up to you. Just find stillness to close your practice. A moment to unplug. And just feel the effects of all those poses still working through you. You'll start to wiggle the fingers and the toes, deepening the breath. Stretch the arms overhead. Find a stretch, getting long on your mat, feeling all that space you made. Start to walk the feet in, bend the legs, and roll over to your right side. Keeping the eyes closed if you can, use the hands, bring yourself up to an easy cross-legged seat, your meditation seat. Sitting up tall, finding that length in the front side of the body. So pubic bone goes down toward the mat, chest lifts up, tip of the nose points forward and down a little bit. Bring the hands together in front of you. Left side of the body meets the right side. Take a moment, bow the head, honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, your inner wisdom, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you for joining and sharing your practice. Hope you feel great. And I'll see you next time.